That's right, baby. We're back. Welcome back in, guys. I hope your week has been great. I know mine has so far. And honestly, I hope that neither of us run into any issues getting that ever elusive free time, of course, to game. Here we go, guys. Honestly, in light of recent news and crazy posts and any other things like that in the gaming space, I did want to go ahead and have the platform chat. As we all recently found out, really over the past year with Xbox getting some of their greats on over to PlayStation, sales figures, stuff like Forza just blowing the doors off of sales. On the other side of the fence, PS recently having some strategy changing murmurs with that job listing and such. And probably the biggest recent one, both companies actually seem to be playing nice with Helldivers. First off, Helldivers even coming to Xbox from PlayStation is very cool. But then when they showcased it to be able to see ODST armor and themes in that trailer was actually pretty sick. But things like that kind of show us that, honestly, guys, the gaming industry is not really even close to the same as it was when a lot of us were growing up. Sure, guys, graphics fidelity and, file sizes, gaming mechanics, all kinds of stuff have gone up, have improved in some capacity. Mechanics in and of themselves have been refined, but really, as each console generation happens, there's always some of that silly banter surrounding that console tribalism or the quote best place to play games in general. It's really always been a part of gaming. I can remember all the way back to Sega Genesis versus SNES. Of course, PlayStation first coming on the scene and duking it out with Nintendo, and then probably the biggest one I remember, at least in my opinion, was kind of that PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, that duke out, and then you just kind of had Nintendo Wii sitting on the sidelines doing its thing. And honestly, guys, while some of the elements from the quote console wars and such have been outrageous, there have been, anywhere you look, especially on Twitter, you'll just see, oh, here's this sales figure list for these PlayStation games or these Xbox games and everything. And honestly, stuff like that, or name calling or any of that nonsense, if you're not being facetious and you're not kind of trying to have a good time, dude, that's kind of outrageous. But I honestly, it's been wild to see. As I mentioned, any kind of sales figure charts, teraflops, all kinds of little buzzwords, anything that can be used against one another. In my opinion, if you're doing it maliciously, come on, guys. It's 2025. I feel like, we're all old enough to think about this. But I do think there is a useful element of a competitive nature. And that actually, that competitive nature throughout the golden era, the 360, the PS3, stuff like that had driven most of the players in the game to really step it up. And that to me is actually really important, because if they're trying to do their best, they're competing for us, they're competing for our time, they're competing for that quote tribalism and engagement and stuff like that. So, I could see where you see stuff like this where everyone's suddenly kind of playing nice, where that competitive edge might be getting removed, might be off the table. Now, just because everything might be trending in every game is going on every platform and stuff like that kind of direction, it doesn't necessarily mean, the end of days. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the competitive spirit in the or from the players or in the players, any of that, will actually be gone. It just means that now the players in this space actually do have to find a new way to keep us engaged. Now that really does make the conversation surrounding like a preferred platform interesting, because I mean, in this day and age, there are a plethora of reasons why we as players would choose something specific. I mean, if you're PC centric, you might be looking at raw power, new GPUs, new CPUs, motherboards. I mean, fast everything, efficiency, being able to tinker with your graphics settings. You know, that's a large part of PC gaming. But then you might be looking at preservation efforts as well on PC that might be implemented a little bit better than consoles. On the console side, and this doesn't mean that PC doesn't do this, so definitely don't read into it that way, but I think there's a pretty big community aspect that comes from a lot of console gaming, especially the Xbox community. I know this sounds wild, and again, I'm not pointing fingers in any particular way, but like, when I want to get on and I want to game with friends and everything, I find that to be a lot more efficient and a lot more effective on Xbox. You know, that's and I think that comes from the Xbox 360 era of games. I genuinely do. I mean, other things though, especially for me recently, are things like form factor. You know, the Nintendo Switch, regardless of what your opinion of it is, like, from a gaming performance standpoint, a lot of things hit 30 frames per second in like undocked mode. When you're in handheld mode, you might be getting 720p from time to time, and there's a lot of things that are getting sacrificed, but you get that hybrid mobility and that form factor in tandem with things like the Steam Deck or the Asus ROG Ally. Like, these are very appealing elements to gaming, especially in this day and age. And then, of course, last but not least, I know we talked about everything everywhere, but that is not 100% where we are just yet. So I will say things like game access are all factors. You know, you've got exclusive games that are still available, even if it is for a time frame. I know a lot of people say, like, oh, well, you know, like The Last of Us took a year or so to be able to come to PC or entertain that notion, right?
Okay.
It's little things like that. Now, the reason I kind of go into that a little bit is a lot of us in this space, like, guys, we're used to being able to wait, right? We're used to waiting for that experience, or, you know, hey, you can put the time off just to make sure that if the game comes to PC, I'll get that version, I'll be able to tinker with it and kind of do it my way. Or maybe it's coming to Xbox later, the way that like Final Fantasy 16 did. You know, we've gotten accustomed to, okay, we don't necessarily always have to be bit by FOMO. But what I will say is, like, new players who are just entering the space, they're likely not interested in waiting that 6 months, that year, for that new game that they just saw the trailer for to hit a specific platform. So, I mean, that is something to take into account with game access, at least for now. Again, we'll kind of see where things go as the industry kind of makes this directional shift, if you will. But there are some other variables, though. I mean, sub-services. You got that Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack service. Outrageously named, but fantastic service nonetheless. You, of course, have Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus. They're all monthly services. They all have very, very different offerings. Guys, this isn't like a one-size-fits-all application with them. And in my opinion, they're very different. I mean, Nintendo with their service, they load up on the classics. You're able to play NES, SNES, you're able to play Game Boy games, you're able to play GameCube, on the Switch 2, Nintendo 64. So you can bounce around all over. 1 second you can be playing Mario Kart on SNES, and then hop over to Ocarina of Time, Zelda on Nintendo 64. But they definitely lean into the nostalgia, that the games that we grew up with. And Game Pass on the flip side, while it did kind of have a lull there for a little bit, it's been firing off lately with a lot of great open world RPGs. Game of the Year contender at the time of this recording in Clair Obscur Expedition 33. The Oblivion remake hit. Starfield, regardless of your opinion on it, it's a big game. They're getting a lot of their explosive games straight onto Game Pass, and that has its own appeal. A lot of people, including myself, use Game Pass. There's a lot of great games on there, and when they do have their lull, yeah, it's a little rough, but then they explode and you remember yes, this is why Game Pass is fantastic. Personally, I think PS Plus kind of falls in the middle. I mean, they do have a classics catalog with PS1 and PS2 games, but there is some growth in that to be desired. The games are very playable. I mean, you got Dino Crisis, RE1, you got all kinds of cool PS1 games on there. You just want the library to be a little bit bigger. PS2 games are on there. You can stream PS3 games, and then of course you have PS4 and PS5 games. And games don't necessarily go day and date the way they do on Game Pass on PlayStation Plus. And that's just a little bit of that nuance I mentioned about different strategies that can actually impact where we want to play, and whether or not that specific platform matters, whether you're going on the Series S or you're going on the PS Pro or the Switch 2, right? So what do we do, guys? Various different platforms, services, and offerings to choose from. Honestly, guys, subtleties aplenty on each platform. Plenty. Little things like UI elements to control stick layouts are all playing a role in this. If I'm being honest, research is the answer to this question. We have to research, and we have to know there's going to be something we want elsewhere that might not be available on whatever we choose to get. You got to be content with that fact is, hey, if I choose, say, Xbox, I might not get PlayStation games straight away. They might come later, if at all. I know most people would say in a video like this, oh, play where you want. And I do completely agree, guys. I just personally think there is also an element that we don't really take into account. And that's, it's hard to have access to every platform for a testing and research perspective. I mean, it really is. And that's the kind of stuff that I think about. I mean, it's a little tougher today than it was before. Sometimes you'll walk into a Best Buy or a GameStop, something like that, and they have a kiosk where you might be able to try a game, or they might have a controller out so you can, oh yeah, this maybe the offset X input analog sticks feel good, right? Every little bit of research helps. Every single bit of research helps. And genuinely, those little opportunities, you would use them. I will say, though, I do want to echo the play where you want statement now. Because after your research into any available games, any controllers, after some time at a kiosk, any of that, you're done, right? You've done all your research, right? At that point, yeah, you should have a genuine grasp on what you like, where you want to try. And that's where the play where you want aspect comes into play. I genuinely think that's what people mean when they kind of use that as a blanket statement as well. A lot of the time you'll see me playing on the PlayStation 5 Pro. If I'm in couch mode, that's what I do. But the reason I thought about kind of making this a talking piece a little bit is I've noticed over the past couple weeks, I have been playing a lot of Switch OLED. I've got that Nitro Deck Plus that kind of lays it out like a Steam Deck, that controller. Or the aforementioned Steam Deck itself. Like that kind of form factor and experience, that it's been growing on me a lot. And the reason I kind of mention that is because even if you do have a preferred experience, you know, all right, time to grab the DualSense and play this game over on the Pro with the big TV and the speakers and stuff like that. Always be open to giving something else a try, because who knows, you might find a clamshell Game Boy SP at a pawn shop or something like that and just fall in love with that form factor. Like, being versatile is great. Having a preferred platform is also great. Again, guys, it's for fun, and that's what we should be doing this for. That's what we should be playing any of this for. Like, the industry, guys, the industry seems to be changing into more of like a platform service style kind of competition, right? It's different, and different can be scary. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But that platform and service style competition, it's not necessarily a bad thing. And yeah, we might see a lot more Xbox games on PlayStation. We might see a lot more PlayStation games on Nintendo or Xbox. We're likely gonna see it, all of them except for maybe Nintendo, on PC. Like, from a general market sense, anyway. I know that people do, in fact, sail the high seas. So if you are a commander on Steam, or you're a king on Xbox, master on PlayStation, or you are just vibing in Nintendo land, guys, I don't think there's a wrong answer to a preferred platform, but I also think there isn't really a right one. So the only one I have for you is, hey man, just keep playing. Like, and it goes back, yeah, play where you want, but also play what you have. As if all you got's a PS3, but you love it, play that PS3, baby. Because that's the way to go. Like, as long as you're enjoying the hobby, that's all that matters. Anyway, guys, I'll go ahead and leave this one here. Leave some thoughts in the comments. Do you have a preferred platform? Are you kind of like me where you bounce all over the place, but you know, you kind of have a set, oh, if it's this type of game, I'll likely be sitting on the couch experiencing that, versus, you know, different pickup and plays that might do a little more on the go. I want to hear from you guys. And remember to keep things 100 line. Take care.